In this video, I'm going to go over the 4 most common reasons why you have no energy and go over how to fix it. It's something I call very simply the 4 energy drainers. And stick around because the last one is the most important and most common. Energy drainer number 1 is something I like to call the crash and chase cycle. Now, I'm an online fitness coach, and something I've realized working with over 50 people one-on-one and hundreds of people in a group setting in brick and mortar locations is that it all comes down to what you put in your body. Something that people don't realize is that calories are energy. They're units of energy. In the UK, it literally says on nutrition facts, energy instead of calories. That's for a reason. Food is fuel, and you have to have the right grade of fuel based on your lifestyle. And that's what's going to give you the most energy, the most effectively. So let me give you some examples that I see with some of my clients. I have some people that just do the bare minimum because they're always scrambling throughout their busy days. Say they work long hours at a job, say they have kids, say they have family obligations, responsibilities. They wake up, have 1 coffee for breakfast, 1 granola bar they throw in their pocket for lunch, and then they grab something on their way home after work. Now, this may work for convenience and maybe time saving, but it doesn't help you feel energized whatsoever, especially if you're like running on caffeine sources like energy drinks or energy shots, for example. So you skip your meals, you grab something quick here and there, and then you crash, and then you wonder why. The problem with food like that is it doesn't satisfy you. It doesn't make you feel full. It doesn't give your body what it needs to give yourself the most energy. It makes it unstable, and here's the interesting part. You may have heard the saying, eat less, move more, especially when trying to lose weight. What I've found is you want to eat more and move more. Here's why. When you eat more, you're having more calories. Therefore, you get your body to a point where you're more efficient to burn more calories throughout your day. It all comes back to metabolism and BMR, your basal metabolic rate, how many calories you burn just by existing. So if you're the type of person who just scrapes by the day having the bare minimum, say you don't prioritize eating or you're just scrambling through your day and dragging your feet, and you wonder why you have no energy, that's why. Oftentimes I say, if you have low calorie intake, that means you have low calorie burn. You're not burning enough you're not burning calories if you're not taking any in. That's just, it's as simple as that. Energy in, energy out. If you want more energy output, you got to get the correct energy input first. It's really that simple. Energy drainer number 2 is the healthy foods that don't fuel you. And now this kind of goes hand in hand with energy drainer number 1. Instead of foods and things you consume that make you crash later in the day, these are foods that are just empty and are ineffective for energy output. Maybe they sound healthy, but actually on the surface, they just have more sugar and other things that don't help you. For example, acai bowls, granola bars, smoothies, small salads that just don't have anything in them, potato chips, stuff that's just empty calories. The real job of everything you put in your mouth throughout the day, every meal, is to fuel you. You don't eat for the sake of just eating. You eat for what it's going to do for you. This is why you have to prioritize something I call nutrition anchors. I work with something called the micro habits method. It's something that means you take little small steps every single day or every single step of the way towards where you want to be. So for an example of a protein anchor would be to just focus on protein. And once you get the protein dialed in, you could start adding in the fiber. Once you get the fiber and protein added, then you could focus on something like the grams of fat or the types of saturated fats or making sure you have enough omega-3s. The list goes on. It just depends on where you are in your journey. You got to start where you already are and then expand from there. But a good place to start is with protein and fiber. Now, quick disclaimer about fiber. If you already are a person who gets a low amount of fiber, I'm talking things like veggies, berries, beans, legumes, nuts, oats, buckwheat, whole grains. There's endless benefits that comes to fiber. Just to name a few, it's the number 1 preventer of colon cancer. It cleans your pipes. That's the way I see it. And this is what I tell my clients. Think of your intestines as your pipes in your body, which they are. It cleans them out. It makes them healthy. It slows your digestion. It lowers your blood sugar levels, decreases insulin resistance. It just makes the operating systems in your body that much smoother. Now, if you have a low amount of fiber right now, you got to taper upwards. So if you're not tracking, for example, using MyFitnessPal or Trainerize like I do with my clients, that's a good place to start. Now, when I say tracking, I'm not talking about all or nothing here. I'm not talking about having to weigh your food. I'm not talking about getting too nitty gritty, especially if you've never done it before. A good place to start is just by putting the food item in the app. That general awareness and structure around what you eat day to day is going to be a game changer. It just takes practice, just like everything else. And I'd highly, highly recommend it. Even if your goal isn't weight loss, if it's to get more energy, I couldn't recommend it enough, because that's going to give you a snapshot of where you already are and how to improve. There was a study, I think it was at Duke University, where they had about 70 participants. All they did was track their food. And over the course of a month's time, I think it was, they lost an average of 5 pounds. This is with no meal plans, no dieting, nothing. Just the awareness alone was enough to get the scale number moving. And as a result, their energy skyrocketed. Having more fiber is like a cheat code. Your first step should be to get around 20 grams per day and then work your way up from there. But in order to get there, you got to start tracking and figure out where you already are. Same could be said about protein. The only thing with protein is it helps you maintain your muscle. And muscle gives you more energy. More on that later. Aim to about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, depending on what your goal weight is. I'm assuming, for the purposes of this video, let's assume you don't want to lose weight and you want to stay where you're at. So if you are about 150 pounds, say, you want to aim for about 120 to 130 grams of protein per day. And this is going to take some awareness. This is going to take some intention. You're not going to be there if you don't track, plain and simple. It comes down to this. Do you want to continue your days being exhausted, or do you want to take action and fix it and just start something simple like tracking? People complain about it, but I'm telling you guys, it's really not a big deal. There's so many different apps you could use. There's Chronometer, there's Lose It, there's MyFitnessPal. So many different ones. They make it super easy. The free versions, everything. Aside from energy improvements, fiber and protein are also going to decrease those cravings, which is a whole nother tangent I could go on. That's actually how they engineer those empty calorie foods like potato chips. That's all based on how they taste, and they have chemicals in them that are designed to make you want more. And that's actually a perfect segue into the next energy drainer. Because even if it's not food, there's so many other things in life that can distract you and put you in a bad spot. And it all starts with dopamine. If you don't know what dopamine is, it's that hormone that makes you feel good. It's the pleasure hormone. This is something that is so easily abused today. Our ancestors would probably be ashamed, and they're probably shaking their heads looking down on us right now, because if you think back to ancient times or caveman days, we had to fight to be happy. We had to fight for our happiness. We had to fight for our dopamine. We had to go out, kill something, and drag it home. And that's how we ate. And that's how we felt that dopamine. Not like today, where we have endless access to junk food and streaming platforms that we binge and abuse, and screens in our faces constantly that we just endlessly scroll. And of course, you got your drugs and something that I used to be a victim of, something that I no longer watch, porn. It's everywhere, guys. In fact, I can make this a whole nother video in itself. But basically, all of us today, not all of us, but a good amount of people, especially different generations, are spoiled rotten. They're soft because of this stuff, guys. It's everywhere. It's like we don't even know what we have to do to be okay by ourselves. It's like we have to rely on these things to survive. How many of you right now would be okay if you didn't have your phone? I'm just talking for one day. Like, what would you do if you didn't have your phone for one day? I've been a delivery driver for about 8 years now, and the amount of entitlement and whininess I've seen from people from these jobs, all over my experiences, being a manager at FedEx, people love to complain. But then you look at them and you think, like, what do you even have to complain about? People are so entitled, they're so whiny, and it kind of makes me sick. So what's the solution? Discipline. Again, I can make a whole nother video on this topic, but discipline is something that has saved me. Your life is going to be hard no matter what you do, no matter where you go. So what kind of hard do you want? Is it going to be a hard that's going to improve your life, or is it going to be a hard that's going to keep you stuck and keep you that victim mentality? Are you going to have that instant gratification mindset, or are you going to have the delayed gratification mindset and believe and be grateful and do something that's going to not only benefit you, but benefit others around you? I'm getting off topic. The idea is you want to have more natural sources of dopamine because that is what's going to get you the most energy. This is why people get addicted to stuff that's so artificial, which, like all the stuff I listed, this is why people are drug addicts and people are so reliant on these artificial things all around us. When you rely on these things, your energy begins to feel flat all the time. Nothing is exciting anymore. Your brain comes to expect feeling this heightened levels of pleasure all the time. And then it just gets that much lower when it doesn't have it. This is how addiction happens, guys. Overall, your life is just going to be so much better if you stop overstimulating your brain with these things that just are going to make you crash out. But there's one energy drainer that is the most preventable, in my opinion, and it affects probably the most people out of all of these. It's something I like to call the willpower tax. These are things that require more discipline than your life could realistically support. Stuff like all or nothing meal plans, fad diets, mindsets that you can do everything from nothing. You really have to think about mental bandwidth. We all have a certain amount of bandwidth throughout the day that we can handle. The more simple something is, the more sustainable it is. It all comes down to what you can do repeatedly over and over and over again. If you start something that you stop the next day, it doesn't do anything. Real change happens when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of change itself. Let me say that again. Real change happens when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of change itself. You got to really want it. And don't rely on motivation. It may help you start, but it's not going to help you keep going. You have to decide every single day that this is what you want and figure out reasons of why it's helping you. And that might not happen right away. You got to stay in the game, the long game, to really reap the full benefits. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's never about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it sustainably and repeatably. The things that you could sustain when life gets inevitably busy. I don't care who you are. Life is busy. Now, I went over little things that help each of these individually, but there's one thing that's going to help all of these collectively, and that is something called strength training. Resistance training, muscle training, it's all the same thing. And take it from me, I've been strength training since I was 14 years old. I wrestled in high school, so I had to learn how to do it, and I'm so glad I did because it helped me stand up to people who were picking on me growing up. It helped me feel a new sense of confidence in myself that I've never felt before. It carried me into adulthood with a sense of self that I've never had. Right out of college, I got recruited into one of these jobs that really its purpose was to just pay the bills, because that's what happens after college, right? We get into the real world and it's time to make money and pay for the roof over our head. Plus I was engaged at the time. So I ended up at Nationwide Insurance. I got fired because I fell asleep at my desk. So right then and there, I researched everywhere, far and wide, how to get more energy the most natural ways. Everywhere was pointing to just strength training. And I had fell off the wagon prior to that because in college, I didn't have full-time responsibilities like I did after college. So strength training took a back seat until it didn't. So what I'm saying is, if you prioritize strength training, everywhere else in your life will get better. And that starts with discipline, and it starts with deciding that you can make the change permanently. This doesn't mean you do crazy bodybuilding workouts so you end up looking like a bodybuilder, which can't happen, by the way. That takes years of hard work, and it's pretty much a sport, lifestyle in itself. But the point is, you want to start slow and small and work up from there. You got to do it until you love it. And I know that's a weird thing to say, because you might be thinking like, well, how could you force yourself into liking something? Well, you kind of can. And it's something that I've learned over the years is life is full of stuff that you're not going to want to do. You're not going to enjoy at first. You're not going to be good at it first, because newsflash, you're going to suck at something if you're just starting it. I don't care what it is. But if you can tough your way through that starting point, because it is the hardest part, you're going to get to a point where you feel more confident in your abilities. You get this whole new outlook on life because it's self-respect. It's self-respect you build for yourself because you did something hard that you didn't think you can do and you overcame it. This is the exact reason why the first thing I do when I wake up every morning, most every morning, is go on a run. Do I ever want to go on a run as soon as I wake up? Absolutely not. It's the last thing I want to do, actually. But I do it, especially the first thing in the morning, because it sets my whole rest of the day up for success. I don't want to leave my comfy bed next to my wife. I don't want to leave into the cold. I don't want to have to bundle up and go through the effort of showering after and adding the time and energy it takes to do that. But contrary to popular belief, moving and exercising actually gives you more energy. And that's something I learned too, especially being an online fitness coach. They realize how much they've been doing themselves a disservice by not moving their bodies. It impacts everything, even your sex drive, guys, everything. It also helps things like metabolism, posture, your bone density, especially if you're older, insulin sensitivity, your confidence, how you feel about yourself, like I went over, and your resilience to get through hard things. You literally become more of a capable human being in every facet of life. And this video would be incomplete if I didn't mention the 80-20 nutrition principle rule. And I went over some basic nutrition stuff earlier in the video, but it's so important to have sustainable nutrition. And to do that, 80% of the time, you're going to be on point, getting whole foods, foods that are nutritionally dense, got the protein, got the fiber, low grams of fat, low saturated trans fats. But the idea is, the goal is not perfection, just like anything else. Perfection doesn't exist. I even hate using that word. That's why the 80-20 principle is a real thing. Life is going to happen. You're going to have holidays. You're going to have social events. You're going to have pizza nights. Things are going to happen and come up that you're going to have to give yourself some grace with, and that's okay. So to recap, the 4 energy drainers are the crash and chase. It's eating patterns that cause energy crashes. Eating healthy foods that actually don't fuel you, they're empty. Specifically meals that just lack protein and fiber sources. Dopamine crash loop, habits that spike your dopamine but drain your motivation and make you feel flat later. And the willpower tax, that's plans that require more discipline than your life can realistically give. You gotta have it sustainable. Forget motivation. So if you've been feeling tired all the time lately, don't necessarily ask yourself if you need to sleep more, although if you're not getting 6 to 8 hours, that could be part of it. But ask yourself, am I fueling my body properly? Are my daily habits helping my energy or are they draining it? Am I giving my body a reason to get stronger or a reason to drain? Because when those things improve, your whole energy changes, confidence changes, your body changes, and your life changes. When your life changes, so do your hormones. Speaking of hormones, we went over some hormones in today's video, but one that we didn't go over necessarily is cortisol, which is the stress hormone. If you want to learn about natural ways to lower your cortisol, check out the video I did here. And if this video helped you at all, please like it because it'll help it get shown more to people who might need it. And feel free to comment down below for more topics like this one, anything health, fitness related, self-improvement. I love talking about stuff like this. Anything you guys want to hear, I'll make it happen. And subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one as well as workouts. You could apply down below to learn more about my coaching, and I'll see you in the next one.